Who even robs banks these days? Even hitting a mint is child's play now. Look at these robbers in just half an hour. They've pulled off a £4 billion pension heist. To put that in perspective, look at the crew from Money Heist. They spent 13 days in a mint just to print €4 billion. Zara is an employee at the firm that was hit. As a veteran of the transaction processing team, she was held at gunpoint yesterday, forced to execute the transfer. Back home, Zara stared at her alarm clock, lying in bed, unable to sleep a wink. But it wasn't out of fear. She couldn't wait to turn on her computer, connect to a VPN, and log into her hidden account. When she saw the balance of £5 million, she took a sharp breath. It was far more than she expected. You might wonder, with £4 billion stolen, why did she only get £5 million? There's more to the story than meets the eye. See what happens next after a brief hesitation. She immediately took out a hardware wallet and plugged it in. With this offline device, she can safely transfer the funds, so they become completely untraceable, even though the money could vanish forever if the wallet is lost or damaged. Zara didn't hesitate to make the transfer after all. This massive amount of ill-gotten gains had to be somewhere safe for her to have any peace of mind. She quickly entered her graphic password on the wallet to confirm, then immediately unplugged it and shut down the computer. Tucking the wallet into a bag, she paced nervously around her house. Nowhere seemed safe enough, not the top of the cabinet, nor any other hiding spot she could think of. Finally, she moved the heavy refrigerator. She stuffed the hardware wallet into the gap at the back and finally let out a long sigh of relief. The next morning, with a sense of apprehension, Zara prepared to head to work as usual. Meanwhile, the investigation into the largest heist in British history is now in full swing. The police have tracked the robbers' escape route through surveillance, but the case has hit a deadlock. The robbers wore gloves throughout the operation, and their faces were covered with incredibly realistic prosthetic masks, rendering facial recognition software completely useless. The surveillance team tracked them, leaving via public transport, after which they parted ways and vanished into various surveillance blind spots. To make matters worse, they all used cloned debit cards to purchase their tickets. This group of robbers was professional and highly trained. The police suspect they could be retired special forces personnel, or even state-level agents, leaving behind almost no useful leads. This heist, involving £4 billion, concerns the hard-earned pensions of countless people, making the recovery of funds extremely difficult, with no progress being made on the case. Higher-ups have assigned an economic crime specialist, named Darren Yoshida, to assist the investigation. However, the detective leading the case, Kovacs, was somewhat displeased with his new colleague's arrival. Since the robbery took place yesterday morning, Darren should have reported yesterday afternoon, yet he only showed up today. Darren explained that he had only received the assignment an hour ago and rushed over immediately. This left Kovacs feeling quite surprised. By now, the area outside Zara's office building was already swarming with media who had caught wind of the news. Broadcasting vans could be seen everywhere. The entrance to the company has been cordoned off by police, and all employees must show identification to enter. Zara enters the office and heads straight for Luke's desk, leading him to the break room where they speak in hushed tones. Luke is reeling from the discovery of the £5 million, as the robbers' initial promise of hush money was only 100,000. Their conversation confirms their involvement in the case, though they weren't the ones carrying out the actual heist. Initially, the robbers had only reached out to them to obtain system login credentials for a cyber intrusion. Little did they know that once the robbers mastered the internal workflows and data, they would launch a direct physical robbery, walking away with £4 billion. This £5 million is clearly hush money from the robbers, intended to ensure their absolute silence. Luke realizes instantly that this is a trap. The money is meant to bind them irrevocably to the robbery, turning them into accomplices with no way out. Despite providing information, they had no prior knowledge of the armed robbery, and were effectively coerced into the middle of it, paralyzed by fear. Luke begins to contemplate turning himself in, but Zara immediately shuts the idea down. As the tension between them peaks, a colleague approaches, recalling yesterday's nightmare and the shared sense of survival. He mentions that reporters downstairs are swarming the employees, offering as much as £5,000 for any inside photos or leaks. He's also baffled that Luke and Zara, who had guns to their heads just yesterday, could be so composed and back at work today. If it were him, he'd already be on stress leave. Feeling cornered, Zara defensively explains that it's a crisis, and that every pair of hands is needed right now. The colleague's remarks only deepen the fragile Luke's paranoia. He's convinced they're business as usual. Act is already raising eyebrows. Just then, a colleague informed them that the detective needed to conduct a follow-up interview. As Luke entered the conference room for questioning, Zara's anxious gaze followed him every step of the way, a detail that did not escape Detective Kovacs' notice. Kovac introduced Luke to Darren Yoshida, a financial crime expert, which only heightened Luke's nerves. Yoshida took the lead, questioning why the company account was holding a staggering £4 sterling billion at the exact moment the robbery took place. Luke explained that the company was in the midst of a critical asset reallocation, which required the funds to be pooled together. This is something that only happens every few years. Yoshida shrewdly pointed out that the robbers chose to strike on the day the company was at its most liquid in 3 years, a massive coincidence. More crucially, a transfer of this scale requires authorization from at least 3 investment committee members. Those people aren't in every day, they only meet once a week. This means the robbers must have had this information in advance.
Just happened to be an investment committee meeting on the morning of the robbery.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, to be fair, it's they happen once a week. So, it's a 1 in 5 chance. Is there anything you want to tell us? These are dangerous people. The way they handle themselves suggests they're professionals, ruthless, cold-blooded. As for you, we can protect you. You just need to give me the word. I think I'm just thinking, yeah, that's everything if that's all. Am I good to go? Kovacs could see that Luke was growing resistant. So he stopped the questioning, simply handed him a business card and let him leave.
Meanwhile, Sarah was unraveling the immense pressure drove her to the restroom. Splashing cold water on her face, she fought to regain her composure. Elsewhere, Darren Yoshida concluded from his experience that the heist's masterminds must have planted an insider within the company. The members of the transaction processing team were the prime suspects. Kovacs agreed, but he felt that in a case of this magnitude, the planners wouldn't pin all their hopes on someone as psychologically fragile as Luke. It was likely a secondary fail-safe in place. Regardless, with insufficient evidence for an arrest, they decided to put Luke under surveillance first. Meanwhile, Kovacs confronted his superior, demanding to know why Darren Yoshida was only assigned to the team the day after they had requested assistance. Moreover, the victim firm and the custodian bank had yet to provide the police with critical account data. He suspected his boss wasn't applying enough pressure on them.
There are more important things going on here than you're aware of, more important than thousands of people losing their pensions by the end of the workday. Luke was a nervous wreck.
Sarah quietly warned him again to withdraw the funds from the virtual account immediately, not to call her under any circumstances, let alone the police. She suggested he take tomorrow off to stay home and recover, as that would better reflect the trauma of a survivor. But Luke was now jumping at shadows as he walked. He felt as if every passerby was watching his every move. At the station, Darren Yoshida has traced the whereabouts of the stolen £4 sterling billion. The funds were all wired to an account at a private bank, known as Willemstad Private Bank. The bank is located in a tax haven. The British Virgin Islands, though small in scale, it is extremely discreet and secretive, catering to the ultra-wealthy. Previously unheard of by the police, they now know the destination of the funds, but they cannot reverse the transaction as they lack authority over foreign personal accounts. Darren Yoshida says he will contact local authorities through the Financial Intelligence Unit immediately, but this typically takes 2 to 3 weeks. Only political or diplomatic pressure could accelerate the process. But time is of the essence. The money has likely been moved again already. Meanwhile, tight surveillance on Luke has already begun. Back home, Luke warily watches the street through the window screens. While his every move is being monitored by the police, he quickly shuts the curtains, feeling that the living room is no longer safe, and eventually retreats into the closet with his laptop. He connects to his hardware wallet again, and logs in via VPN to transfer all the funds out. Elsewhere, Zara retrieves the hardware wallet, hidden behind her refrigerator. She heads out as usual, stopping by the supermarket first. Noticing the scratch cards with a £5 sterling million jackpot on the shelf, she hesitates for a moment before buying a few, then heads to a house carrying her shopping bags. Her mother answers the door. Their relationship is clearly strained. Once seated, Zara says that everything has been terrible lately, and she wants to repair their relationship. Whatever transpired between them, her mother's words remain icy.
It's nice to know that I actually made it onto your to-do list. Am I scheduled before or after cleaning the gutters?
I'm sorry. Why do you have to go? Why do you always have to go and twist everything around? Every single time. I'm so sorry. I can't. I'm so sorry. If I'd known you were coming, I would have rolled out the red. While they are arguing, there is a sudden knock at the door.
While her mother goes to answer it, Zara slips upstairs. She enters a bedroom and pries up a floorboard, hiding the hardware wallet in a box underneath before carefully replacing the board. What the fuck are you doing? Can't I even use the loo? Pardon me, what? After Zara leaves, her mother catches the news report about the heist at the company. On her bus ride home, Zara receives a call from Luke. Luke is in a total panic, apologizing profusely. He's too terrified to leave the house and hide the money, convinced that he's being watched from the outside. He even suspects his home is bugged, so he hides in the closet to call Zara for help. Warily scanning her surroundings, Zara whispers to reassure him, telling him he's just under too much stress. When Luke breaks down and mentions going to the police, Zara immediately shuts him down and promises to head to his place right away. Unbeknownst to them, the robbers are monitoring the entire call. The robbers anticipated that Luke's cowardly nature would eventually make him their biggest liability. Deciding to strike first, they haven't just tapped the phones. They've also installed covert cameras throughout Luke's house. As the call ended, the heist crew immediately split into two groups, making their way toward Luke's apartment building. Even after hanging up, Luke remained restless and on edge. Finally decided to dial the number on Detective Kovac's business card. Kovac had just stepped out of the casino when Luke told him over the phone that he had something crucial to disclose to the police, but insisted that Kovac meet him at his home in person. Kovac immediately sensed something was wrong and headed there at once, while alerting his team to step up patrols around Luke's residence. Just then, hiding in the closet, Luke heard a knock at the door. He snatched a screwdriver from the messy floor and crept toward the entrance. The men outside were disguised as delivery drivers, but they clearly weren't planning to wait for Luke to open up. They kicked in the door and stormed the apartment, beginning a frantic search. Hiding in the hallway closet, Luke waited for the robbers to focus on the inner rooms, and cautiously nudged the door open, ready to make a run for it. Unexpectedly, Zara arrived to find him and buzzed the intercom, instantly giving away Luke's position. In the struggle, Luke stabbed one of the robbers with the screwdriver and fled in the chaos. He bolted for the stairwell, racing down the steps as fast as he could. Meanwhile, Zara managed to slip into the building behind a returning resident. She was about to head up when she noticed the elevator was held on the 12th floor, which was Luke's floor. At that moment, a robber was using his wounded accomplice's body to prop open the elevator door, while the other rushed back into the apartment to retrieve their planted surveillance gear. The evidence cleared, they prepared to evacuate with their injured man. Sensing something was amiss, Zara watched as the elevator stalled for so long, suddenly began to descend it, went down to the parking garage before heading back up. When the elevator door slid open once more, Zara sees a pool of blood on the elevator floor and her heart sinks. Realizing Luke might have been killed, she quickly ducks out of sight. Meanwhile, Luke scrambles down the stairs to the ground floor. Just as he's about to burst through the lobby, he's blindsided and knocked down by a helmet-wielding robber who doubled back. One robber puts him in a chokehold while another pulls out a syringe, drawing liquid from a vial and forcibly injecting it into him. Hiding nearby, Zara witnesses this terrifying scene. The robbers drag the unconscious Luke into a car, while the cleanup crew steals the footage from the building's surveillance room. However, in the midst of the chaos, one robber accidentally leaves the injection vial behind at the scene. Zara notices a trace of liquid still remaining inside. More importantly, there is a clear fingerprint left on the bottle. She carefully conceals the vial just then. Detective Kovac pulls up, catching Zara just as she climbs out of a window.